Into thin air. Inanimate acting tips. Actors frequently find themselves working with inanimate or non-existent partners in film and television, whether it's interacting with imaginary creatures, performing alongside CGI characters, or reacting to props that will later be altered digitally. I have got some key techniques and strategies actors use to bring these scenes to life convincingly on this episode of Casting Actors Cast.
This is Casting Actors Cast. Jeffrey Dreisbach brings you insights and inspiration. Make a difference in your acting and your acting career. Here's Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm your host, casting partner Jeffrey Dreisbach with the McCorkle Group in New York on the Broadway Podcast Network. Welcome. So glad that you're here. It's about time that I talk about this, working in unusual circumstances, whether it's on the television set or on the film set, but using CGI, and actors really have to develop some additional techniques in order to be very believable when working with inanimate objects, whether it's animals, whether it's a volleyball. So whatever it might be, there are some very specific, and I have 10 things that actors really need to think about when they have this situation or this opportunity to perform with inanimate objects. All right. But first, right, this is my moment where I get to say thanks for tuning in to Casting Actors Cast. Please check out the website, castingactorscast.com. There's a form there if you're interested that says dive into the talent pool. That gives me your email address. I don't do anything with that, by the way, except an occasional email about a upcoming episode perhaps, but I don't spam you or anything like that. But also on the website, you'll find all kinds of cool stuff. A course that I'm teaching, there's a book that you can get called Jeff's Jots, the Actor's Career Playbook. There's also some videos that you can check out because we are simulcasting on YouTube. So it's kind of a whole place where you can kind of check out all kinds of stuff. A lot of it's free. There's also a place that you can get show notes for each of the corresponding episodes. So that's something I'm suggesting that you want to check out. Also, let me know that if you like this episode, if you have some questions, my email address, castingactorscast@gmail.com. That would be awesome. And finally, my shout out to my good friends at Actors Connection, actorsconnection.com/New York. All right, so let's jump into this. The word I think is being convincing, and doing the acting work with an inanimate object convincingly. And so here are 10 things to think about. If you have that opportunity, or if you haven't had that opportunity, let me say, you probably are going to have this opportunity in your film and television career. But the first one I have to talk about is imagination and visualization. So actors really have to use their imagination to visualize the presence of a character or a creature that isn't physically there. So they create a mental image of the scene's missing elements, and they interact with them as if they are real. So when actors perform with CGI creatures like, aliens or dinosaurs or robots, they visualize the size, the movement, and the emotional responses of the creature based on direction from the filmmakers. Now, for example, in films like Jurassic World, actors like Chris Pratt had to react to dinosaurs that were added later with CGI. So he had the challenge and had to imagine the dinosaur's size, movement, and eye line to make the interaction feel real. The other method that can manifest itself is having reference points. And how it works, actors often use the physical reference points on a set, such as, I don't know, sometimes they use a tennis ball on a stick. Or they'll have stand-ins, or they'll use props to help orient their performances. Now, these stand-ins provide actors with a visual guide for eye lines and movements. For example, in the Lord of the Rings series, actors interacted with Gollum portrayed, as you probably know, by Andy Serkis in a motion capture suit. So Andy's in this motion capture suit and would be on set, providing the physical presence and eyeline for actors like Elijah Wood, who played Frodo. Now, when Golem was later transformed into the fully CGI character, the actor's performance remains so believable because they had been reacting to the tangible presence of the actor playing the role. So that was really helpful. Although I'm not sure you could have like the coolest conversations with somebody in a very tight, bright green suit. But there it is. And that's exactly what happened. Another thing that is a technique, rather, that is used in terms of working with CGI and motion capture is pre-visualization and motion capture. Here's how it works. So it's called previs. Pre-visualization allows actors to see rough digital renderings of scenes before filming. Motion capture suits worn by other performers can also provide real-time interactions that later transform into digital characters. Like, for example, in Avatar, actors like Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana wore motion capture suits, and they acted in environments with minimal props. And through Previs, by pre-visualizations, they were shown how their characters and the world of Pandora would eventually appear, so that this allowed them to understand their environment and be able to interact with invisible elements effectively. If you are really clear about what the environment looks and feels like, even though it's not literally there, you can create the world for yourself and make it quite believable. Another method that actors use is they use listening and reacting to the scene partner's voice alone. In other words, not the actor, but the actor's voice. So here's how it works. So if the character doesn't appear physically on the set, or if it's added later, for example, actors might still hear their scene partner's dialogue delivered off camera. So they perhaps would record the actor saying the words and then play it back for the other actor, so that this helps the actor respond emotionally and it helps them stay connected to the conversation. So this happens often in animated films. Voice actors often record their lines separately. And when they're brought together, the actors listen to the pre-recorded lines of their counterparts, reacting and responding as if they were in the same room. Here's an example. Tom Hanks, when recording dialogue for Toy Story, frequently had to imagine Woody's scenes with Buzz Lightyear while only hearing the voice of Tim Allen. Another method is the use of stand-ins. For scenes with CGI characters or objects that will later be digitally enhanced, actors often interact with stand-ins, such as crew members or actors wearing green suits. They stand in and they provide a physical presence, making the interaction even more believable. In Avengers Endgame, Josh Brolin wore a motion capture suit to play Thanos. Now, despite his eventual transformation into a massive digitally rendered character, Brolin's presence on set helped actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans react naturally to his movements and dialogue. Another element that needs to be considered when doing this kind of work is eye line and spatial awareness. So maintaining accurate eye lines is absolutely crucial when performing with inanimate objects or non-existent partners. Directors and visual effects teams often guide the actors where to look and how high or how low to focus their gaze to ensure consistency. So, for example, in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the actors interacted with cartoon characters that were animated post-production. So the film crew used puppets or sometimes just simple physical markers to indicate where the actors should focus their eyes, their gaze, helping maintain spatial consistency. Actors like Robert Hoskins had to maintain eye line with a non-existent character like Roger Rabbit while imagining their movements and emotions. Now, moving on from that, there is a connection that needs to be made with the physicality and body language. So even if actors aren't physically interacting with a real partner, they need to commit to the physicality of the scene, whether they're fighting a CGI villain or hugging an imaginary character. The actor's body language must be believable. We're going to pick it up with more right after this.
Are you wishing for acting success? Are you ready with audition techniques for theater, film, and television? Are you ready with proven methods for growing your talent? Are you ready to boost your business? It would help if you had a playbook to guide you. Now, there's Jeff's Jots, the Actor's Career Playbook by Jeffrey Dreisbach. Jeff's Jots at Amazon.com, CastingActorsCast.com, available in paperback, hardcover, or ebook. Stop wishing and start doing with Jeff's Jots, the Actor's Career Playbook.
Welcome back. In Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, Liam Neeson fought Darth Maul, played by Ray Park. But in some scenes, he was also battling against CGI-generated creatures like droids. Nielsen had to strike and parry invisible enemies using his body language to convey realistic combat movements, which were later enhanced by visual effects. The visual commitment to these actions gave the audience the sense that the interaction is real, even if the partner isn't. Another element, emotional connection. Here's how it works. The emotional reality of the scene is essential, even when the actor is working with an imaginary partner. The actor must bring emotional truth to the interaction by fully committing the scene's stakes and feelings. So in, let's say, Castaway, for example, Tom Hanks had to develop an emotional bond with an inanimate object, Wilson, the volleyball. Through his performance, Hanks created a believable relationship with Wilson, even though it was just a prop. His emotional investment made the audience care about the volleyball too. And then let's move on to another element, rehearsal and practice with green screen and CGI. Since many actors are not accustomed to working entirely in green screen environments, some productions provide rehearsal time to practice interacting with imaginary elements. Understanding the visual effects and how they will appear helps actors adopt their performances, or adapt their performances by adopting and adapting their performances. So here's an example. In superhero and science fiction films like Guardians of the Galaxy, actors like Chris Pratt had extensive rehearsal time to understand how the digital environment and CGI characters like Groot and Rocket could later be integrated into the scene, so that Pratt rehearsed without physical props, but kept in mind the space where the CGI characters would eventually appear. And then finally, another element is the trust in the direction and the visual effects team. So actors must trust the filmmakers and the visual effects teams to create a convincing final product. This often requires taking direction from visual effects supervisors and trusting that their choices will be supported in post-production. So, for example, in The Life of Pi, Suraj Sharma had to act opposite a CGI tiger, which was added later. So he had to trust the director, Ang Lee, to guide him through the emotional, intense scenes, and relied on the visual effects team to make his reactions feel seamless on the final film. So when working with the inanimate or non-existent partners, actors rely heavily on their imagination, visualization skills, and trust in the film's creative process. By mastering these techniques, whether it's interacting with green screen elements, CGI characters, or invisible creatures, actors can deliver performances that feel authentic and emotionally compelling. The success of these scenes depend on the actor's ability to make the audience believe that what they are seeing is real, even when it's not. Also, I think it's important to know that this skill set is something every actor should be familiar with and be more comfortable with over time. Because as the technology continues to grow, having the ability to preconceive, to imagine, and to create a non-existent other is going to be a vital skill set that the actor will so appreciate when the opportunity arises. I hope that this was helpful for you today. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach. You've been listening and watching Casting Actors Cast. Thanks so much.